Hey guys, welcome to Interesting Video Wild Rift. So today we're back with a Senna supplementary guide, and today we're going to be taking a look at Senna with the blue build. So what exactly is the blue build? Well, basically that's Manamune, Iceborne, and Frozen Heart, all of which are blue items, and it was first popularized with Ezreal, who also kind of works with the same build, but hasn't really been built very much. Now, of course, we all know the best way to pretty much build Senna is pretty much full lethality, full damage nowadays, because you're going to do a ton of damage, but I was thinking that I wanted to do a video on Tank Senna, but Tank Senna really isn't even that good, right? So I didn't really want to play Tank Senna, so I was trying to find a middle ground where I could still do some damage and be somewhat tanky-ish at the same time. And this is kind of what I found, using, of course, the Manamune to convert the mana we get from Iceborne and Frozen Heart to, of course, a damage, and also having the tankiness from here. Right, so first off, we're going to start with the Ancient Coin. Now, I personally like Ancient Coin because I don't like taking Relic Shield to because it gives me less souls, and I also don't like going for Spectral Sickle because it forces me to play very aggressively in the early game, which not in every matchup is going to be a good thing. Of course, it's still a solid option, but I like going for Ancient Coin since it gives me health and ability haste instead of just pure AD. So first item I like to go for is actually the Boots of Dynamism. Now, Boots of Dynamism is very useful in lane because you are a very strong laning champion and you can use the Boots of Dynamism to bully with that early lethality. But of course, a very solid option as well is actually going for CDR Boots, because it gives you mana regen, and you of course also get 30 ability haste, which is very useful for all your abilities. Now, the core of the build is going to be Manamune, because Manamune is a very gold efficient item, very cheap item, only 2700 gold. You can complete it really quickly. Now, at the beginning, it doesn't really give you a lot. It just gives you a tiny bit of AD, a good amount of mana, and ability haste. But of course, the passive is where it comes in. Right? It grants AD based on 1.5% of your max mana and refunds 15% of the mana spent. Now, of course, when you evolve it into Mirror Mana, it's going to become even better, where it grants you AD equal to 2% of your max mana and refunds 15% of your mana spent. Right, so that 2% mana is very important. And of course, also when you hit enemies, is going to do bonus damage based off of your current mana, right? So mana becomes a very important stat. And scales very well with mana. I mean, that's where the next two items comes in, right? They're both defensive items. So with Iceborne, you get max health, you get armor, you get ability haste, and importantly, you get max mana, which is of course going to convert into damage from Manamune. And of course, you also get the Spellblade passive here, which scales off your armor and provides that slow zone, so a lot of utility for your team, tankiness for yourself, and even damage from yourself with the mana and the Spellblade passive, right? Then you go for Frozen Heart, right, which gives you even more armor and ability haste, gives you once again mana, which is going to of course convert, and you get that attack speed reduction passive, which is very useful against auto attack style champions and of course against AD champions. Now, the last item is very variable. Now, I just have Mole Reminder here as a default, which gives you Armor Pen and Grievous Wounds, just general useful stats, especially the Grievous Wounds as a support. You can of course go for Executioner's Calling earlier. You of course have a ton of other options as well, like if you're against heavy magic damage, something like a Maw or Spirit Visage would be great. Black Cleaver, all around solid item, and of course you have Serpent's Fang for anti-shield if you need it, and you can even build that earlier if you prefer. And for the runes, I like to go for Fleet, which of course gives you the health and movement speed, as well as that a little bit of attack speed. Helps you get off your auto Q auto combo really nice, quick and smooth. Also very strong in lane. Right, Shield Bash, you heal and shield a lot, so just a lot of free damage. Same with Empowered Attack. And of course, Zombie Ward helps you get free extra wards, and of course gives you a ton of AD as well. And then we have Bone Plating for the extra defenses. And for the spells, we have Flash and Heal. Of course, since you're a support, Heal is pretty important to have. Right, and finally with that, we're now going to move on to the gameplay portion of the video. Okay, so let's move on to the gameplay part of the video. Now, a lot of things to discuss, but you guys can see this is going to be a very long gameplay, so we have a lot of time to kind of talk a lot about Senna herself, this build, when it's good and when it's not, and just, it like those kind of things in general, right? So you can see here, this build is very heavy, like AD, not AD rather, I should say armor based, right? So you basically have no magic resist items until the very end, and if you want to swap out like Iceborne or Frozen Heart for a magic resist item, it's kind of defeating the purpose of the Manamune, because you want to get the 2 mana items to convert it. So I wouldn't really recommend going for this build if there's a lot of magic damage on the enemy team. And you can see in this game, there is a decent amount of magic damage with the Veigar, as well as having the Morgana on the team, but also there is 3 AD champions, being Samira, Master Yi, as well as Tristana, and Master Yi and Tristana are both auto attack or rather attack speed based champions. Samira not exactly. So Frozen Heart works very well against two of them, right? I would say Frozen Heart is not really worth it to build when you're only building it into one attack speed champion, because you really only get value from that one champion. But in this game we have 3 AD champions and 2 attack speed champions, so Iceborne into Frozen Heart is very useful, of course with Mana Moon before that. So this is one of those very very specific scenarios that this build is actually good. I would say that this build is not very applicable in a lot of matches. Like I said, if the enemy team has too much AP, this build kind of doesn't really make sense. If the enemy team doesn't really have 2 auto attackers, the Frozen Heart doesn't really make sense either. So it's kind of a very specific build for that purpose. But this is really the perfect match to showcase the build. So you might be thinking, why am I going for this tanky build, right? Why not just go for pure damage? Now I would recommend you to go for pure damage in the vast majority of games, and this is actually the only game I actually ever played this build. And the reason why I went for this like hybrid build between like a tank and damage in this particular game is really because just look at my team, right? I have only damage dealers on my team. I have Yasuo, Yone, Ashe, and Evelyn, right? They're basically 4 damage dealers, and we don't really need a 5th damage dealer. Now you could argue your whole team could be feeding and you could be the main damage. I guess that's true, right? That's why we have Mana Moon to kind of provide us with a little bit of damage as well. But in general, I think just going for 5 pure damage dealers like is just not a very good idea, right? The only kind of saving grace we have is that our damage dealers all kind of have some kind of utility. Of course, you have Ashe, Alt, and Slow. You have Yasuo and Yone who have like some form of CC. So it's not like you have pure damage dealers who have completely no CC. Like it's not like you have like all those marksman champions. It's not like you have like a Lucian top, a Zeri mid, things like that. At least we have some kind of CC, some kind of utility here, which is pretty crucial, I would say, because a team with like no CC is a team with like no CC and all squishy are, it's very difficult to win with that kind of team. So at least even with myself, I also have utility with my heals, shields, and with the root, as you guys can see here. And here I'm very close to actually getting my boots, which is why I'm sticking around in lane. As you guys probably will know, the ADC will always hit the boot breakpoint first, because support will have to of course buy that support item and also get less gold. So ADCs will always get to back and buy boots first. So if the ADC backs at the moment they can buy boots, the support will never be able to buy boots, and they have to kind of stay a little bit longer for that to happen, which is what I'm kind of doing here. Finally getting the goal to actually get my boots, and I finally pick up my boots, and I'm now running back to lane. Now this of course desyncs my back timer with my ADC. So what I need to happen here is I need my Ashe to not just randomly fight or get caught while I'm not there, which thankfully she doesn't actually do, so it's all a-okay. Now Morgana is pretty far out. We're getting a lot of free damage on her. She's getting pretty low, pops the heal to try to run away. Arrow goes in onto Tristana. However, Master Yi comes in, and both Tristana and Morgana are pretty low. So I decide to basically commit to the kill, and thankfully I'm able to finish off the kill before I die. Now Ashe unfortunately decides to turn back when she saw me coming to the kill, and as a result she doesn't get enough distance away from Master Yi. Master Yi is able to Q onto her, follow her, and then finish the kill there. Barrier doesn't even help her in this scenario, so unfortunately Ashe dies as well. So overall, not a positive trade in that exchange, but we are able to pick up a kill for ourselves. Now, I would say with this build, you do, of course, you are the support, and you do ideally want to let your team get kills. However, if you get kills, it's gold well spent as well. So I'm not particularly, avoiding getting kills, as you will see. But here Evelyn comes in for a gank. I try to help her with the follow-up. It doesn't really work. Nothing really happens. Now Veigar now coming in. I barely managed to actually escape the cage courtesy of the fleet footwork movement speed. I actually thought I would get stunned there, but I somehow didn't. Now Veigar is getting caught. He's 1 HP. I'm going to flash forward to finish the kill. And Morgana now coming back to lane. Tristana taking a bunch of damage. I'm now attacking them over the wall with my range. And difficult to really get anything off here. Really difficult to dive or anything, because of course it's not so simple. Now Evelyn though tries something very ambitious, going around the back. Nothing really comes of it, but we can see Master Yi in the mid lane, so we're relatively safe here. Evelyn cuts off Morgana's escape. Morgana does end up going down, and this leaves us with some free time to kind of farm a little bit of tower plates. Of course we know Tristana is coming out of base. However, Veigar and Master Yi are making their way here. We managed to chain CC the Master Yi with the Ashe arrow into the Senna root, and Master Yi takes a bunch of damage but is not going to die. Does have 4 kills and is really fed. Now Veigar here goes for the Ashe under the tower, but ends up tanking a tower shot as a result. And here I'm trying to get the kill onto the Veigar. popping the heal just for the movement speed, and turns out that that was very necessary because the health ends up saving my life as well. From the Veigar ulti, I barely escaped there with my life, and with that, I'm now going to run back to my tower and head back to the base. Now with 3 kills in my pocket are the 6 kills that my team has, doing pretty well in terms of kills if I do say so myself. This allows me to complete my entire Manamune in one go, and of course with the Manamune, repeated Manamune buffs, of course Manamune used to only charge 10 per stack, and then it charged 15, and now it charges 18 per stack, so you can charge up Manamune way quicker, and of course it spikes way earlier, which makes it an even better item. Now here, my tower is going to go down to the enemy bot lane. I don't really think I can defend it myself, so instead I just head over to the dragon to get 2 guaranteed souls off of the dragon. And my Ashe farms up the minions, allowing me to upgrade my support item. And this is going to be such a long game, I mean, which is no real spoiler there, you guys can already see the length of the video. It's such a long game that I actually managed to sell my support item and get an additional item, which is very, very rare that that happens in my opinion. I almost never am able to actually get to the point where I'm able to sell my support item and actually get another item. But this game actually makes it happen, which is just wild. But here Ashe basically ditches the lane to farm the skull crab, so I'm just kind of following her because I don't really want to stay in the lane alone. Morgana here is backing. I try to get the root, but she must have had vision there because she's able to just sidestep it, or rather just step away from it, and then pop the black shield to immune the Ashe CC. And then she puts the tether on me, and I'm forced to flash because if that tether hits, I get stunned, and then Tristana just one-shots me after that by jumping in on me with the bomb. So that's one of the situations where you have to kind of recognize that even though you're basically at full health, if you don't flash there and you get stunned, you're just going to end up dying, even though you're basically at full health, right? So just a game knowledge thing kind of coming in, knowing that you have to kind of pop your flash, otherwise you're going to die for being greedy with the flash. Enemy team is now getting a push off with the Herald in the mid lane, and I'm trying to help out bot with my ulti, which I am able to do. Actually, I don't even think I helped, or I don't even think I got an assist off of that, so I don't actually think I helped, but I attempted to help, I guess. So here, we successfully defend the tier 2 mid lane, pick up a lot more souls. And yeah, now one of the issues with Senna, unlike a lot of other supports, is that you kind of have to be with your team all the time, right? Because you don't want to farm minions, but you want to be near your team when they farm minions so that you can get souls. Now here, I kind of mess up a little bit because I don't actually heal, use my summoner heal for the Evelynn. I think I could have saved Evelynn there if I healed her, and then she could have gotten the fruit. But of course, I kind of am not used to having heal as a summoner spell because I don't normally play a lot of support. So I do mess up from time to time with mistakes like that. Could have saved the Evelynn there, but I didn't, which is definitely a bit of a boo-boo, because enemy team gets another free kill as a result. Now we know Samira is in here, so I basically just face check, and I end up taking a lot of damage. If Ashe did not stun her there, I'm pretty sure I would have died to Samira's ulti, because I haven't really gotten any tank items yet, so as of now I'm still completely squishy. And here I'm posturing for it because of course Evelynn is invis, and she can possibly make a play, especially if I bait them. And here at this point, since no one on my team is here, I'm just taking the farm. I'm kind of giving up on not taking the farm anymore because at the end of the day, Senna is still a ADC style champion that makes very good use of gold, but just that her scaling on her souls are so good that most of the time it's just worth it to just let your team get the minions and then you get the souls. But in instances where you have to farm minions or you have to clear a wave when your team is not around, it is actually worth it to last hit the minions instead of just letting the minions die and getting the souls, because the goal is just completely wasted if you don't last hit the minions. But of course, if there are other team members there, it's the best to give the gold to them and then you pick up the souls. Here my whole team is on the bot side, which is why I'm on the bot side as well. Now, I'm thinking someone's going to farm that wave, isn't it? But Yone backs, Evelynn backs, and Ashe is going back to the mid lane, so that huge bot wave is just getting pushed in with nobody even attending to it. Now I'm just going for wards to get my stacks here. Morgana kind of semi getting caught, but has the black shield, so is able to escape. Samira is pushing all the way since no one is actually stopping her, which does make sense. Yasuo finally goes down to duel the Samira. I give him the ulti just to ensure that he wins the fight. And Samira is actually surviving for a long time. Eventually does go down, and I do end up getting the assist. But now my whole team is concentrated, not whole team, but a lot of my team is concentrated on the bot side as I pick up more zombie ward stacks, with Dragon now up, right? So this basically means we cannot really contest Dragon because two of our team members are missing, but Ash is still going there anyway. I'm still going there anyway, but you can see nothing really happens here, and this is a needless contest because we basically have no real way of getting it. Now we're trying to look for some exit kills. Master Yi is running rampant, now at 4-0 still. I guess make it 5-0. Now I see him very low, so I flash forward to try to kill him. He nearly survives, but I am able to finally get the kill. I do die after, but getting the shutdown on Master Yi is going to be pretty nice. And I have now completed my Iceborne Gauntlet, which is now going to make me pretty tanky. Now, ironically, despite being the support, I have as much gold as my ADC and more gold than the Wind Brothers, who have, I wouldn't say been feeding, but they kind of have. And not really doing very well. I mean, the 2-1 Yone has less gold than the 0-4 Yasuo, so clearly that dude has been doing something wrong. He hasn't been feeding the enemy, but he hasn't been farming at all, so somehow he is behind in gold compared to his Wind Brother, who has been actually feeding, so he's kind of as good as feeding in a way. He's at least not giving the enemy team gold from deaths, but yeah, something's not right. So here Samira goes for the dive onto the Ashe, which is successful. However, I am there to clean up right after, so it ends up becoming a 1-for-1 trade. And yeah, I mean, I guess I could try to ult and heal to save Ashe there, but I think it's really hard to save a squishy Ashe who doesn't have shield bow from a Samira ulti. Here, speaking of which, I ulti to give the shield to my team, as well as, of course, to deal a bit of damage to the team. The enemy team getting completely caught out here. Evelyn picks up all the kills. And everybody is dead with the exception of Master Yi. So now I'm thinking this is probably the green light to do Baron, as I use a Q to just thin the wave a little bit, as well as get a bit of extra healing. Now, Master Yi could potentially just run in here, but he would be running into a 1v3. So if we play it correctly, we should still get the Baron and maybe even kill him. If we play it correctly. He doesn't actually show up, so we get a free Baron, which is just as good, right? Having no contest and having a free Baron is probably an ideal scenario. Now, in this game, I actually pick up a QSS because there's a lot of CC coming from the Morgana and the Veigar, and I think that at this point, with my 5-2 and 6 scoreline, I can do a lot of damage while providing a lot of utilities. I'm thinking that it's better for me to QSS and stay alive than to get like a locket and just give everyone a small shield. Because the heals and shields I can provide from just being alive in general is probably going to be better than one instance of locket, is kind of my thinking here. So here, as you can see, no one is clearing the top wave and everyone's just fighting for the mid wave. So I'm basically relegated to clearing the top wave myself and then heading over to mid to kind of help out my team. Now here, you can see the QSS coming in handy right there to cleanse away Morgana's CC, and Morgana dies as well as Tristana dies as a result. A little bit of an in-play, but ended up kind of being a bait just due to the fact that I had the QSS to remain safe. And this allows us to then secure the mid lane tower, with the Veigar unable to defend, Master Yi not around, and Samira pushing another lane herself. Now Evelyn going for the assassination on the Samira, but does eventually get her. And Yasuo now just pushing in the top lane. Now once again, for some reason Ashe is farming jungle camps when we have Baron and should be pushing with Baron. So once again, I'm basically forced to push here so that we can make some use of the Baron, maybe get a little bit of tower damage with the mid lane, Baron minions, and things like that. So here I wanted to go bot to get the souls off of the farm, but I realized that Yone isn't going to wait for me and he's just going to get all the farms. So instead I choose to follow Ashe, who's kind of nearby, to kind of just try to get souls from wherever I can. I believe at this point I have zombie ward stacked up already, so I don't actually need to kill that ward, but of course removing enemy vision and converting it to your own is always going to be a useful thing. Tristana almost gets assassinated by the Evelyn. Evelyn has to tried to ult as a result and doesn't have ult anymore. We're in, of course, very, very solid shape. Nothing too much is happening. Dragon now going to be spawning real soon. Now myself and Ashe are resetting for item right before Dragon spawns. She gets Runans and I get Frozen Heart. Two very, very crucial items for the fight, but we do need our team to kind of wait for us and not prematurely start the fight. So thankfully it doesn't appear that anything is really happening at the Dragon yet. I think the enemy team tried to do it but then backed off. Evelyn tries to get the assassination, but ends up getting caught herself instead and gets shut down, which makes doing Dragon very awkward because we don't have a jungler ourselves. So here is a very risky dragon, but we are able to secure it before Master Yi or anyone else could actually come in. Here we QSS out of the cage, which is pretty nice, but we're kind of stuck in between Samira and Master Yi, so this is a very sticky situation. At this point, we're just running forward and seeing what we can do. Here, we're just catching people out, basically. With Ash slow, with my slow, I flash forward. We secure the kill onto Master Yi. Now Tristana is running for the hills. Samira coming in from behind, but we just do a little bit of kiting. Like, we outrange Samira by a mile, so pretty simple to do, right? So here at this point, I'm thinking I have more than enough damage to kill Tristana, right? So I'm just going forward aggressively, looking for Tristana, auto for the slow, another Q just for some damage. And she's under tower, but just look at this range, right? I'm just attacking her from outside the tower range. I step into the tower a little bit, proc her shield bow. I'm just basically finishing her off, and essentially I did like 99% of the damage there. Ash comes in with the W to KS, but it's alright. She is the ADC after all, and if that were me, I would definitely have done the same, so I'm not really going to complain about it too much. And here we now go mid, and I mean, this is just the most awkward situation ever, right? So Evelyn tries to do the Baron alone. Obviously, she cannot solo Baron, so I'm coming to help her out. But she's now very low off doing the Baron, and this happens like 100 times, right? So now I'm faced with the two AP champions, which I don't have any defenses against, right? And they two are able to basically just burst me down because I don't have any magic resist. So I end up just going down. We end up basically leashing Baron for them. Yone tries to compensate, tries to go in, and same for Ashe, and same for Yasuo. So the whole situation just goes from bad to worse, right? Like, it started off with myself and Evelyn doing a very bad Baron and donating the Baron to the enemy team, but it ends off with not just donating the Baron to the enemy team, but getting aced and then donating the Baron to the enemy team. So that's just an example of how one bad play just changes the whole game, right? You can see we were ahead in goal before that. Now with this, we're even in goal, and the enemy team secures Baron, which is gonna allow them to get even more of our towers and just gonna help them out so much. Samira though at 1 HP, and I'm spawning, so I'm thinking maybe I can just snipe the Samira. So I try to get the snipe off, but firstly, she's no longer 1 HP, and secondly, she easily dodges it. So just a little bit unfortunate. So I decide to go for Maw as the last item because, as I said, I have completely no magic resist right now, and at this current point in time, I'm tanky against physical damage. I do a decent amount of damage just from my basic kit scaling of the souls. I have like 100 plus souls at this point, so I have a lot of AD free from souls, and of course, there's also the mana immune scaling. So I do enough damage, and I'm tanky enough against physical damage dealers. Right? But I really need magic resist so I can actually deal with Veigar and Morgana and actually kind of just not just die to them so easily, which is what happened in the Baron fight just now. So I'm looking for the Maw as the last item. Of course, we do have the Hex Drinker already, and my team is able to find a pick onto Tristana. Samira, of course, already down. Morgana gets the root onto me, but pops the stasis immediately after, which basically spells her doom, gets hit by the root, and has nowhere to run. Now, with Elder Dragon spawning in 5 seconds time, only Master Yi and Veigar are up, so the enemy team died at the wrong moment. Pretty poor push with the Baron there from them. And here I'm expecting Master Yi to be around, so I actually try to throw a blind root. He doesn't get into the pit in time to really contest, so this gives our entire team Baron, and we are now going to look for a reset. And we complete our Maw of Malmortius. So basically, quote-unquote full build at this point. If you count the support item, we are at full build, but of course, as I said, we are going to reach a point where we sell our support item and get another item instead. And we can also change our lethality boots, because lethality at this stage of the game is not very handy. Like, even though you could argue no one on the enemy team is really building any kind of armor at all, but they get a lot of base armor, so there's that. So here we have Elder, and somehow we're getting run down by the enemy team. Like, myself and Evelyn managed to both die with Elder against the Master Yi, and I'm thinking at this point, like, wow, is the game just lost, right? If we can't kill Master Yi with Elder, how do we win the game? Right? And Master Yi is at 18k gold, basically close to full build at this point, and just running roughshod on our team, right? It's a bit of a problem, to say the least. So I'm thinking that, there's gotta be something, we gotta do something, right? The enemy team is actually being aggressive on us when we have Elder, which is a problem, to say the least. So here now they're actually pushing into our mid lane tower. Wind Brothers looking to make something happen. Ashe dies without basically doing anything, which is just horrible. I finally respawn, and we're trying to defend this mid lane tower against the enemy team. Evelyn looking for the charm, almost able to one-shot the Morgana. Morgana's basically dead at this point. However, she isn't actually dead, so I'm gonna have to flash forward to get the kill there. Actually, I don't even think I needed to flash. I think a heal and walking up to auto would have been enough, but I kind of just panicked there and just flashed forward. Now Samira there, yeah, we just saw Samira there, so a low HP Evelyn shouldn't be walking that way. Here I'm gonna get the root onto Samira. She dashes to me with the ulti, but at this point, look at how much damage she's doing to me, right? I'm way too tanky at this point with all my armor items, so she can't kill me. Now Veigar tries to kill me as well. Wind wall is still up, so he hits everything into the wind wall, and the cage is not large enough to actually zone me off. Because at this point, with so many stacks, I have a lot of range scaling, so I'm actually able to attack him from a long distance. I outrange towers at this point, so I can even attack a tower from range, which is just nuts, right? But the only problem is that you're of course not going to do a lot of damage to towers. Now, Master Yi is alive, and Evelyn is dead. So this is a very risky Baron, right? We either burst it down before he comes, or kill him when he comes. Now, he's running in, and easily smites the Baron away, which is exactly what we don't want to happen. However, this time, we are able to kill him for it, but the enemy team just gets another Baron, which is just horrible, right? So as I said, we either have to burst it down before he comes or turn on him, but my teammates are not turning on him. They're just doing the Baron to the point that the Baron gets low, and then he just comes in for a free smite, which is definitely not what you want to do, right? The proper way to have played that is, when the moment you see him, you stop doing the Baron, and then you focus him and kill him first, right? But of course, in solo queue, basically, people are just gonna focus the Baron anyway, and then the Baron just dies, and then the Baron just dies to him in particular, which is just complete disaster. So now, despite our team having the upper hand, we now have to deal with the Baron minions, and it's just a pain, right? Because even if we can get the push, it's really hard to push against the Baron. Now here I'm kind of semi-trolling because I'm stepping up a little bit too far. I think I'm in one-shot range of the Veigar. Yeah, he doesn't actually come in one-shot me. It's Samira instead who one-shots me. I definitely got a little bit overzealous there in terms of stepping up because, you know, I do a lot of damage and I am very tanky. So that's kind of a very dangerous combo to have, right? Like, if you can do a lot of damage while being very tanky, that's like you know, Exodia, right? But the only problem is that I am tanky but not that tanky. I can't be taking free damage for no reason, which is what happened there. And I end up paying the price for it, rightfully so. Master Yi, you can see, is a menace because we have very limited CC to deal with him. We really just need Ashe to hit an arrow on Master Yi. Like, with Senna root, he can easily escape it with his Q. Like with Yasuo and Yone CC, they kind of need to charge it up. And Yone ulti is hard to hit on Master Yi, who's very mobile. So we really just need a point blank Ashe arrow onto Master Yi. For some reason, Ashe is contesting the Elder Dragon here against the enemy team when her entire team is dead. I guess she does delay some of the time there. And here the Baron minions are basically ending the game for the enemy team. And we somehow saved the base at 166 health. And at this point, I actually sell my support item. I actually get Runans because, as I said, I'm thinking that at this point I can just basically be a walking turret, stand far away and just hit people with my autos and use the Runans bolts to deal damage to their surrounding champions as well. So here now the enemy team is Elder, and this is of course very dangerous because like a late game Morgana with Elder, Samira with Elder, Master Yi with Elder, even Veigar with Elder, and like even the not performing that well Tristana with Elder, like all of them are so scary. Like, it's so simple for them to kill us at this point. It's just insane. So I'm just standing near my base, hoping my team doesn't go out, hoping my team doesn't feed, just praying that, you know, we can outlive the enemy team's Elder buff duration. And of course, Evelyn decides to go in, trades 1-for-1 with the Veigar, which I guess is not a bad trade in all things considered, because you do remove one Elder buff. Yone now going in onto the Samira. I'm trying to finish Samira off. She goes into GA, and I mistimed the Q completely, unfortunately. However, I believe I'm probably going to be able to kill her. I'm not, and I end up dying to the Elder. I'm thinking at this point, game might be lost. Ashe does get the kill on her eventually, but eventually we end up trading up, right? We end up trading 3 for 4, right? With Morgana only now just respawning, so only Tristana has the Elder buff left. So in the end of the day, it was pretty good, right? Like, we lost one inhib, But we removed all the enemy's Elder buffs, and now Baron is actually contestable because enemy team doesn't have Elder. So somehow it actually works out, and I also, of course, changed my boots to more armor boots because I'm still dying despite the fact I have 2 full armor items, right? So the 15% damage reduction from that is going to come in handy. Now we of course have to be very careful with one lane exposed and with our Nexus on very low HP. Now my team is doing the Baron as quickly as they can. I'm using the ulti to give them the shield and just help out. Yasuo dies but ends up distracting the enemy team, which allows us to secure the Baron, which I think is a good trade at this point. Now here I'm walking near to kind of back the Yone up, but Yone is going in way too deep, and dies for it. Yeah, does die for it. And the Wind Brothers are out of commission once again. So we have the Baron, but we're now playing 3v5, and I'm thinking that, oh no, this is a problem, right? So I'm using my range here, you can see, to just get off as much damage to the enemy team as I can while remaining safe. Samira is about to come in with the ulti, does die before that happens though, and I'm like, uh-oh. So I'm trying to run to the base before I die. Tristana actually ults me onto the base, and I survive. And they end up tanking the tower and dying. Now here, Masti, I don't know what would possess him to kill me there when I'm right next to my Nexus. But somehow, in a 1v3 miracle, I'm able to save the game for my team again. Now, the minions are crashing to the enemy base, but the minions are also crashing into our base. So I decide to let our minions end the game because we have Baron minions. And I'm going to defend my base instead. So the Winions end up pulling out the dub for us in a very long and exhausting game. But we do pull up with the victory at the end of the day. And so I'm going to leave you guys with the stats as usual. Pay attention in particular to how much damage we did and how much we tanked. And also, of course, we have an AFK Yone. But I'm going to leave you guys with the rest of the stats as usual. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.